Hey everybody, thanks for pressing play. In this video we're looking at this car here. This is a brand new Hyundai Tucson and this one is what's called an executive and it's a 1.6 petrol and this is a hybrid version. Brian's my name. If there's any information you want on this particular car, please do call, text, WhatsApp, whatever suits, 086 843 1945. If you want information about trading in your car, scrapping your car, information about finance, or just information on this really cool car. Anyway, we are Fitzpatrick's Garage, a family-run business and a Hyundai dealer in operation for 70 years. And for anyone that's watching on YouTube, please do like and subscribe because it lets me know the video is useful. If I've missed information, let me know in the comment section below. And yes, I do know the jumper is a bit dodgy because everyone's after giving me loads of abuse about it today, so you don't need to do it in the comment section. This is a super important car for us because this version here, which is the previous generation, is one of the all-time best-selling cars we've ever had at the garage. So anyway, in this video what we're going to do is figure out what this specification is all about. We're going to look at the features on the outside and the inside of the car, and we're going to go for a drive in the car as well, so by the end of the video you'll know exactly what's in this model. But just before we get going for a drive, I just want to show you what the differences are between the previous generation and this new current generation. One of the first things is size. This car is bigger in every dimension than the previous shape before. So if you look at actually the length of the car, it's 20 millimeters longer than the predecessor. And the wheelbase, which is the length between the two actual wheels, well actually that's 10 millimeters longer, and that's useful because it allows better cabin space in a car. And the other consequence of this is the fact that this car is now going to directly compete in size with Volkswagen Tiguan and now Toyota RAV4 too. In terms of the width of the vehicle, it's actually 15 millimeters wider than the predecessor, and it's actually longer than the Volkswagen Tiguan and also the Toyota RAV4 as well. So this, make no mistake, this is actually a much bigger car. And while the height hasn't really changed very much, it's about 5 mil higher than the previous model. Again, that's helping the car have that nice, slightly sleeker and lower look in terms of having it wider and longer, but not really a whole lot higher. In terms of the legroom and the headroom, it's very similar to the previous model. However, we will say that the previous model actually had very good headroom and legroom. Anyone that we had coming to try and drive the car never ever had an issue with the front. So it already was very good. So they decided to leave that as it is because it's suiting the needs of the customers that are looking at the vehicle. And it puts it on par with other competitors like the RAV4 and also like the Volkswagen Tiguan as well. There are definitely changes, however, on the rear of the car. So we'll see there is a lot more legroom now in the rear of the vehicle and some more headroom as well. And it's actually beating its rivals in terms of legroom in the rear. So when you sit in the previous model, good headroom. I always found it would be nice if there was a little bit more legroom compared to some other cars. But this newer model is definitely going to address that issue. So headroom's quite good, again, because it is a little bit better than before. But now we've definitely got more legroom than we had previously. So that is going to make a big difference for people with growing families. The boot of the car is also after getting a lot bigger as well, so we've moved up to 616 litres compared to the previous model, and actually that makes it bigger than rivals again like the Tiguan and the RAV4 as well. So if you look at the previous model, the boot was always quite good, but looking at this new one, when you put them side by side, you can actually see it looks a bit deeper on the right hand side in the new one. And then we move on to my favourite part, 1.6 turbocharged engine with a hybrid battery. This car is 230 horsepower. There is a 0 to 100 km/h time of 8 seconds, which is fast for any car, never mind for an SUV as well. But the car has the 1.6 turbo engine, which produces about 183 horsepower, and the remainder is produced by the battery motor. Anyway, let's get going for a drive in the car. So the first thing is sitting into the car. There's some really cool features in this car that we're going to get through. So the drive is going to be all about just how the car feels on the road, and we're going to have a look around the cabin, and then after that we're going to start exploring exactly how various things work within the car. With this hybrid car, the most notable thing starting off is the button selector for all the gears. So by pressing the D button, then we're ready to go, and the handbrake will automatically release once you have your safety belt on. Once you get out on the road, then the steering wheel actually feels different, and I think maybe it's just because it looks a bit different. And after that then you have paddle shifters if you want to engage with your driving. So the right hand paddle 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or the left one 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engaging with the paddle is just a much more interesting and engaging way to actually drive the car in a manual mode. And one thing that's really apparent on this car, because it has the battery assist, when you go from zero, anything I find that's hybrid, when it has a battery, it really gets going from zero. Unlike a petrol or diesel car, there's real immediate torque in the car. There's lots, I suppose, your eye line is really dominated by all these screens that are in front of you, and the car will keep moving in and out. Because it is a hybrid car, it'll keep moving in and out of a combined mode into an electric mode, back into a combined engine and battery mode, and it'll do it all seamlessly. You never have to worry about what the car is doing. It'll do it all by itself. In terms of safety when you're driving the car, so there's going to be an assist. So if you drift off to the left, for example in this case if I let the steering wheel go straight, it's going to aggressively move you away from the ditch without touching the steering wheel, and that's going to be very, very useful. But also when you're driving along in a more comfortable, less aggressive fashion, it's always trying to keep you dead centered on the road. So if you take your hands off the wheel, you can see then the car is literally trying to stay between the lines. And actually one thing I found in this Hyundai system, it finds each side of the road a little bit easier than some of the other manufacturers that we sell. The clocks are really damn cool, and actually one thing as well is when you go from a normal mode, an eco mode, into a sport mode or vice versa, you can see how I suppose noticeable the clock change is, and that's actually going to change how the car drives as well. A sport mode is much more responsive than the eco mode, which is trying to be a little bit less aggressive in terms of saving fuel. The car sits really, really nice on a back road, and like we were saying already, it will alternate. In this case, as you can see right here, the engine is not even taking over, so at this speed, which is 80 kilometers an hour, the car is going to keep alternating between using the petrol engine and not using the petrol engine. Again, just cruising at this speed of 80 kilometers an hour, you can see on the right hand side now that the engine revolutions have pretty much stopped. And now the car is just using a battery, and that means the car's not using any fuel. So we can't be 100% sure yet. We've done about 70 or 80 kilometers in the car, and we've seen it average about 5 to 5.5 litres per 100 kilometers. So to put that into more understandable terms, I think we're going to say that this car is going to be very similar to its diesel counterpart in terms of fuel efficiency. It is a little bit more expensive, but it is an automatic gearbox, and it's got 230 horsepower, so it's a completely different car. And I know this section might be a little bit long, but I'm going to leave it rolling for a minute because just so you see, it's still not using any fuel. And we are covering a bit of ground here, so this is just to give people an idea who are really curious about hybrid, what's actually happening when you drive the car. Well, as you can see in this case, we're doing a lot of battery driving, especially around town. But even on cars like this, they have improved so much over the last few years where they can operate in a full EV mode even up as far as and over 100 kilometers an hour. So it is really giving the car so many opportunities to not use the engine. And even if we discard the idea that the car is hybrid, there's still going to be people out there that want a really nice high cabin with excellent visibility all the way around, just a nice place to be, and something that is quiet and nice and refined on the inside. And that's definitely that's definitely the market that this car can cater for, as well as the hybrid market, and as well as the people that just want a Tucson as well. And while it's quiet and relaxing, it's still got 230 horsepower, so it's still going to entertain people as well. The car is really, really stunning. I hate using words like this, but it is actually damn cool looking. So when you see this car coming towards you, it's like nothing else at the moment. They have those angel daytime running lamps at the front, which are damn cool, and at night time you will not mistake those headlights on the car. So the headlights are separate to those daytime running lights, which also serve as parking lights. The wheels are a 17-inch wheel with Michelin tires, but those lights at night time, you will not mistake them. They're so cool looking, and they're an integral part of the front of the car. It's got that really sporty, unusual look to it. And the same with the taillights as well. They're an unusual style taillight, again very distinctive, and again the type of taillight I don't think you're going to mistake with another type of vehicle. This is a super distinctive looking car, and that's one of the reasons I think that people will buy the car also. In terms of the rear of the car then, the camera is located here. The boot is bigger, so it's moved from just over 500 litres into 616 litres, which is a significant jump. This is putting the car into a different segment. More storage down below, or if you take this section out altogether, you'll have a little bit more storage under there as well. But the car does come standard with this tyre mobility kit as well. There's a little light in through here, and there's also a 12-volt power outlet there, and there's also little hooks as well all the way around the boot if you want to anchor stuff onto the boot floor and stop it from rolling around the place, and you have that top tether to stop a child seat moving forward in an accident. This tonneau cover is nice and solid and easy to use with guided lines, and those seats then, they can be folded forward, and actually at a glance you wouldn't think it, but they fold really flat, so you end up getting a massive load area in the rear, and then when you bring them back up, they move on a reclining setup. Or if you want, you can actually lift the handle and it goes back just as far as you want it, so you can actually recline it really far back. Really nice when you're an adult in the back of the car. And other small and useful things is, see this little guide here? It stops the safety belt moving down around the side of the seat when you actually use it. Along here there's nice materials such as piano black along through here, and then there's going to be some brushed aluminium along through the door handles, and then there's a material nylon on the door card along down through there as well. Then moving on to the inside of the car, there's leather interior on this executive model, and what's nice on the leather on these, there's kind of stitched designs on the leather, so it's quite cool looking. There's Isofix on either side, and then there's obviously an armrest down through the centre as well, and it's just a nice looking leather finish, not quite solid and flat like it used to be before. These little individual designs, I think it looks a bit more upmarket than the previous model as well. Down through here then, you're going to have kangaroo pockets either side, and somebody's using their brain by putting USB connectors in the back of the car, which are going to be used for keeping children quiet. And then we get to the front of the car. There is some serious stuff going on. So the material on the door card is the exact same as what we saw before, your electrics for windows and mirrors, and it's got folding mirrors, but they can be used from the key. So the key turns off the lights, it also folds in the wing mirror, or it turns the lights back on and lets the wing mirror back out as well, which is a useful feature. Again, nice designs on the seating as well, but what about the dash and those screens? We're going to have a real good close look at all the screens and what's going on here. So over here, you got auto wipers, and you see what's cool when you actually use them? It tells you on the screen the position of where the lights or the wipers are, because it's kind of hard to judge sometimes from just looking at the stock. So I think that's a really useful feature. And the stocks have a nice unusual tactile feel as well. It's just, you know, it's different. It's nice. The steering wheel has got that kind of 2-spoke shape and it's leather, and then in through here you got things like your trip computer. So throughout the rest of the sequence I'm going to show you what things look like during the day and also at night time. So the screen in the centre, that is controlled by this trip button, so there's so much going on in through here. So we start up the car, you get a nice sequence, and then after that it's going to give you various setups like your attention level, speed limiter with speed sign recognition, and after that then trip information about how much fuel you've used and where the energy is flowing from, and then all the settings are down through there as well on the third part of the menu, and then the fourth menu for just engine temperature and tyre pressure monitor. And that screen that sits in front of the driver then, that is completely customizable, so you can change it into various different modes depending on what type of screen you'd like to have in front of you. It really reminds me of this iCockpit that I've seen in the Peugeots, and I always thought that was pretty funky. So all those things are controlled from the right hand side of the steering wheel, and then the left hand side is going to be more about controlling things like radio and also Bluetooth and things like that as well. Down in through the central console then, you're going to have in through here your handbrake. You'll have the buttons, we'll say, that we talked about. So first of all, this button here is to open up the storage area, which is the armrest, and then drive and neutral and reverse and park, and then above that then you're going to have things like your drive mode for sport or eco, and that's how it looks at night time. Lovely blue lighting. Over here there is heated seats, there's also things like a heated steering wheel as well, and again it's got that lovely lighting. You'll see in a little while, I'll show you what it looks like when you're sitting in the car at night. After that then you're going to have hill descent control if you're in some tricky areas, and then there's the big screen in through here with reverse camera, and it's also got on your screen in the centre some parking aids. Moving back into the central console then, you're going to have heating controls, so it's dual zone, which means you can have different temperatures on each side of the car, or you can automatically ask the car to get you to whatever temperature you want. And you've got things like front and rear windscreen demister, and actually that demists the wing mirrors also. And it even features a function where you can have driver only fan, again in the interest of fuel efficiency. Moving up here, there's a lovely tactile feel on the volume and the tune and seek button, very unusual actually, a lot different than the previous models. The radio, let's have a look at it at night time. So if you move into the radio, easy to use, touch and swipe, press a list, and you got a list of every single station that's available. So it's a nice system to use, it's not difficult. There's phone in through there, which is going to allow us for music and also taking calls, and then there's going to be things like Android Auto and Apple CarPlay for things like Google Maps and stuff like that as well, and you can customize the screen to have it whichever way you feel. That screen's also going to give you information about the hybrid setup, and if you delve further into it, it's going to tell you exactly where the energy is flowing from. As with most modern cars then, you're going to have USB connectors. In this case you're going to have 2, and there's also a 12 volt outlet in through the centre. But what's kind of cool is it also has the QI technology, which means you've got wireless charging. So if you have a compatible phone, you can just drop your phone on the pad and it'll charge away for you without actually having to plug it in, which is pretty cool. And then this is what it looks like at night time. Again, nice mood lighting, which we're going to move on to in a little while. Looking down through the centre, you got storage in down through here, and also the same on the passenger side, and it also gets some pretty cool mood lighting as well, which we're going to have a look at in a sec. When you're sitting in the car, this is the view. I mean, that is just a nice cabin. I love that blue lighting. Hyundai have had it in cars for years, and they haven't changed it. And do you know why? Because it actually works. Like we were saying, there's mood lighting on the car, so if you go into the lights, we can actually change how bright you want the mood lighting in the car, but we can also actually change the colours, which is pretty damn cool. We've seen that in Mercedes before, and there's quite a number of different colours that you can go through. So it's down in the door pockets, down in the storage area, down through the centre, down along through here, and you can see there's an array of colours: green, blue, purple, white, all very, very nice. And again, that's new stuff for the Tucson, and it makes a nicer cabin when you're driving at night time. Other cool features, look at how thin the rear view mirror is. So again, it's nice and big, but it's not in your way. It's nice and discreet, and you've got an SOS function here, which is to help you in the event of an accident. And that's pretty cool because it's a European call centre that will monitor your movements if you're in an accident. Along here then, you're going to have a mirror, which is in the visor, and there's also a light up through there as well, and the visor actually has an extender as well, just for those really sunny evenings when the sun is low. Here's the thing, Tucson was an absolutely brilliant seller, Ireland's best selling SUV for 5 years in a row, and the reason was it looked cool, it was well equipped, it was high off the ground, there was an absolutely outstanding after sales service, there was brilliant deals on it. It was just, they seemed to cover every single conceivable angle that a customer would consider when they're going to buy a car, and this one's going to be the exact same again. So I think this is going to continue the legacy of being Ireland's most popular SUV, especially now that it's got this full hybrid version to compete with the Toyota. So there you have it. Hopefully that video has been useful. By the end of the video now, I hope you have a better idea of what the executive hybrid automatic 230 horsepower Hyundai Tucson is all about. So like we were saying, if you want information on the car, please do call, text, WhatsApp 086 843 1945, or if you come to the garage, just ask for Brian, or if you're watching on YouTube, please do like and subscribe, because at least it lets me know the video is useful. And like we're saying, we can go through trading in, scrapping cars, finance, or just information about the car in general. So anyway, hopefully the video has been useful, and thanks a million for taking time to watch.